Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Incredibly, I miss being in school. It's kind of strange, but I'm still rocking the We Are Lenape t-shirt, so that's good, right? All right, anyway, today we're going to get into Chapter 18. I know you just did the Chapter 17 quiz. I'm sorry there are no retakes on the quizzes. Don't worry, you'll have another quiz before the end of the market period, and I'm tossing around the idea of one more test. I typically gave a chapter 14 through 18 test. It was one of the biggest ones of the year, and I think I'm going to figure out a way to do it online. So anyway, let's launch into chapter 18. The reading guide is up. You should have that done. I'm going to give you, that's your only assignment for today, aside from the video, for Thursday. So have it done by Tuesday. By Tuesday, I'll set that up. All right, so let's get into chapter 18. All right, so introduction. Actually, it's called, let's get into that first, Renewing the Sectional Struggle. This is really from just 1848 to 1854. So this is right before the birth of the Republican Party. So let's get into this. All right. So the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo and all that gold in California basically renews the sectional struggle that had died down for a couple years. And of course, the issue is slavery. And we're going to see a bunch of new political parties that come out of this. I'll show you some of them in a minute. And they're all centered around this idea of slavery. And there it is. There's the Mexican Cession and the Gadsden Purchase. Hope you guys liked that video. Nobody commented on the Jimmy Kimmel video, so that was disappointing. Gold Rush. It's such a big part of our... the Gold Rush is such a part of our national identity, right? Even our children's movies have this. If you've seen Toy Story 2, The Prospector, he was going to California, right? The idea of the Wild West is during this time period and right after the Civil War. So it kind of has a grip on our national consciousness. All right, so quickly, let's get into just looking at... what did I hit? It's being very sluggish today. All right, let's get into these maps quickly. This is right before the Spanish-American War. You can see there have been all these slave compromises. Of course, the Missouri Compromise, which brings Maine and Missouri in. You have the Arkansas Territory, which falls below the 3630 line, so that will be slave territory. Now you have all of this unorganized territory. Look how much bigger Michigan used to be. The territory, Michigan Territory in here as well. Now we're going to get into, this is the Mexican Cession. So the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, just to review, all of this is ceded to the United States. The Rio Grande is now the border between Mexico and the United States, not the Nueces River. We pay them $15 million. And then, of course, the Gadsden Purchase is added in 1853. Come on, PowerPoint. Oh, why are those things animated? That's annoying. All right, so if we look here, this is what the country looks like now in 1853. Great Britain will cede this territory up here. The Webster-Ashburton Treaty, which was referenced in that Jimmy Kimmel video, cedes the top of Maine. The Gadsden Purchase is made. So this is the modern-day map. We buy Florida in 1821. So if you look at this, the territorial United States are intact. It looks exactly like we are like today. So let's look at this point. At this point, political parties, and this is really what this is going to focus on today, political parties are a bond in national unity. What does that mean? Depending on where you are, it pretty much determines your political party. Today we have some areas that are heavily Democratic or heavily Republican, right? You go to Mississippi or Montana or Idaho, they're going to vote Republican every time. You go to California, New Jersey, New York, they're going to vote Democrat every time. In presidential elections, that is. However, at this time, it's even more so, right? You still have large groups of people in California, in New Jersey, in New York who are Republicans. This time, it's much more determined based on where you are. Political parties, here it is, share members in all parts of the country. So while at the time, there are huge divisions, like I just said. There are members of each party in every state. This will be less true as we draw near to the Civil War. And here it is. This is not based on geography. So just like today we have Republicans and Democrats in every state, and you have that exact same situation in about 1848, that will change with slavery drastically. And slavery is the dividing line in the sand politically. And we'll see that as we move into the political parties. So let's look at the two. The two major political parties, like we know, are the Democrats and the Whigs at this point. The Democrats and the Whigs. The Democrats are more aligned with the idea of states' rights. The Whigs are more nationalistic, like the old Federalists used to be. There are also minor parties, such as the Free Soilers, the Liberty. And let's take a look at what major party the Civil War is missing. You're not here. Obviously, the Republicans. So let's take a look quickly at these other parties. Now, I found something why are you auto-saving? I found something I made. Oh, no. I just gave it away. That I made a couple of years ago in class. I normally do this in class, but we're not there. So let's look. The Democrats, biggest party in the country by far. They're against the bank. They really believe in strict construction of the Constitution, much like Jackson and Jefferson did. If you see here, they don't believe in internal improvements at all. They do not think the federal government should be handing out money to the states. They don't want to raise any taxes. They generally trust the people because of their commitment to Jacksonian democracy. That is the foundation of their party. And they support the war with Mexico, by and large. Almost all of them. The Whigs, on the other hand, love internal improvements, right? Henry Clay's American system, if you ever have to remember Clay is a Whig. They also don't want to be involved with other countries. They believe in staying inside of our borders, really holding on to Washington's warnings about foreign intervention from his farewell address. They also are looking for new ways to raise revenue. They're more in favor of taxation, largely through tariffs. Those are the Whigs. We have then three minor parties. We've looked at a couple of these. The first is the Know-Nothings. The Know-Nothings are really only supporting of one issue. They want to limit immigration, largely immigration from Catholic countries. They're also called the American Party. That's their official name, typically known as the Know-Nothings. Then you get the Free Soil Party. So the Free Soil Party opposes the spread of slavery, not because they are really worried about the slaves, but because they think that it will harm free labor. Okay, they think that free labor and keeping the common man able to work for himself will be hindered if slaves are brought into an area. They think it will drive down wages, which it would. I mean, if we look at the South, the average white Southerner is dirt poor. So they oppose slavery, but not like the abolitionists do. Not because they believe slavery is wrong. I'm sorry, I'm getting a message here. Yes, I'm working. All right, the Free Soil Party. The last party is the first party that we are going to see that is really committed to the stopping of slavery. And that is the Liberty Party. The Liberty Party wants equal rights. They're against slavery. They are a one-issue party. So this is something that we're going to hear a lot, the idea of a one-issue party. They are committed to slavery ending. That is what they want. This will typically be adopted, or these people will be soaked up by the new Republican Party, who we will see later this week. So the Free Soil Party, the Liberty Party, the Whigs are typically rolled up into the new Republican Party. We'll see them later. We have a 15-minute limit on these videos, so let's get through the next couple slides. All right. The election of 1848 is Zachary Taylor's big moment. Remember, he's a hero in the Mexican-American War. He runs against Lewis Cass. Really, I know nothing. Old Martin Van Buren is back, but Van Buren has abandoned the Democrats, largely because of their adamant support of slavery. He is now a free soiler. Old Martin Van Buren. This is like his last political gasp. Remember, he left office under a huge cloud of that massive economic downturn, but he was still popular in some areas of the country. Here are their stances on slavery. The Democrats take no stance on the issue as a party. All right. Although some of them will support this idea of popular sovereignty, which we will look at in 1 second. Popular sovereignty is the idea that slavery should be decided at the local level. If Kansas wants slavery, great. Let them vote for slavery. If Nebraska wants to be free, let them be free. So he would allow every state to vote on slavery by themselves. That would be his stance. The Whigs basically dodge the issue. They do not take a stand on slavery. It's really why their party collapses. As slavery becomes a bigger and bigger national issue, the Whigs duck the issue completely. They just don't deal with it, and they say, well, let's just let it continue. This will actually be a winning issue in the 1848 election because people didn't want to deal with the issue of slavery. And Zachary Taylor is very popular because of the war with Mexico. So he appeals to some Democrats as well because of the war. The Free Soil Party, while itself, like I said, is against the spread of slavery, Martin Van Buren wouldn't have never been described as an abolitionist. He simply did not want slavery to spread to the West. And in some ways, the Free Soil Party was driven by racism. They didn't want to share Western lands with freedmen, as they'll be called later, with free black Americans. And they certainly don't want to compete with slaves for their wages. So it's not born out of any love for the slaves, not like the Liberty Party, who wants immediate equality. They want immediate voting rights for freed blacks. They want the average person, the average black man, to compete with the average white man for labor. So it is a completely different issue, although they will end up voting the same way much of the time because they both are trying to stop the advancing of slavery. All right, so let's look at some big changes. What happened in the U.S. to bring up this new disunity when it comes to sectionalism? And of course, it is the Mexican Cession. The Cession opened up a huge amount of territory to slavery, most of it falling below the 3630 line. And I think I have a slide in here on that. I certainly do not have a slave. California, the gold rush brings many, many people to California, which will bring California into the Union. And the North is basically ignoring the fugitive slave laws that have been passed, one in the Constitution, there's another one later. The North is flat out refusing to return runaway slaves. So this is also an issue for the South. And the Underground Railroad begins to rip the country apart. And we will look at that next time. The Underground Railroad will be tomorrow. Gold is found, like we've said. I think this was in the last PowerPoint. There are a lot of Chinese immigrants in California. There was a lot of crime, not because of the Chinese, but because of how many people there are in search of riches. Look right now, people are freaking out looking for toilet paper. I was getting some food yesterday at a grocery store. I didn't go in, I had it dropped off in the back of my car. You would have thought they were handing out gold bars. People were desperate. So people draft a constitution and request statehood from the federal government, which they will quickly get, and by 1850 they will be a state. All right, so the Union, or California wants to join as a free state. What's the problem? This would throw off the balance of free versus slave states. The South, there are 15 of each right now, there are 30 states. The Mexican Cession area, to the horror of the South, might be closed off to slavery. And the South largely paid for this with its blood. They were the ones fighting in Texas. Up to this point, the South is still doing well politically. They could hold off any anti-slavery legislation. But if this balance in the Senate is thrown off, they will lose their political power. All right, and we will look at the Underground Railroad next time. So I posted the reading guide. Get on and look at the reading guide. I'm posting it a day early. That is your assignment for tomorrow, for Thursday. I'm just giving it to you a day early, which is tomorrow is the 19th, I believe. So I'm giving it to a day early so you can get started. Also, I forgot to mention it. Somewhere in this PowerPoint, it says that there's a video for you to watch that is posted as well. Please watch that. All right. Have a good one.